What's up YouTube? Capital G here talking Nekroz in this video, and I'm doing so because they did something completely unexpected and amazing over the weekend. They actually ended up top 8ing a regional, and this wasn't some little small regional in a country that you've never heard of. This was in Toronto, Canada. I don't know if you guys know this, but Toronto has roughly the same population as a city like Los Angeles, so it's definitely not small time. This was PogChamp that piloted this deck, and he said that he essentially had been out of the game a little bit. PogChamp is a very accomplished player. I believe he was on Team United Ghosted. I don't know if he's still on that team as of right now, but he said he wanted to come back and play something that he knew that he was comfortable with and that he, loved as an archetype, and Nekroz basically fit that. So he basically took this deck, he threw in some new tech to essentially combat the meta, and bada bing, bada boom, definitely surprised some people, but it's like he already had the advantage going into some of the more problematic and most played matchups that you're going to see. Shout outs to Team Samurai X. These guys got the original profile from the regional top 8 deck. I highly recommend that you guys watch the video if you have not. It's got what, almost 8,000 or over 7,000 views, so a lot of people have definitely seen it already. Now let's go into some of the things that you might immediately notice. First off, I love that he played 3 Max C. I think that ever since Konami kind of wrecked Nekroz with the ban list hitting things like Charit and Brio, Jin, and the Nekroz of Unicorn, I think that Nekroz, I think that they are more focused on going second. You want your opponent to have things invested on the board, potentially have cards in the graveyard so that you can Trishula them. Trishula is not a card that's live turn 1. You no longer have the Jin lock, so that's not like a power play that you're going to have. And just in a combo-centric deck, which by nature all ritual decks are, because you need 2 cards to summon 1 monster, potentially 3 if you have to pay for the ritual. Sometimes I say, potentially, because you can pay with the Nekroz of, Kaleidoscope, and you don't really use any resources. But in a deck that, is kind of focused on using 2 cards to summon 1 monster, you definitely want the option of going second, getting that 6 card. Potentially, if your opponent spams the board with a bunch of monsters, you've got 3 Maxi to try and counter them. Maxi has a lot of utility in a deck like Nekroz because you're not just sitting there with a whole bunch of cards waiting to get OTK'd. This deck has the Nekroz of Valkyrie, so you have defensive cards that you can use. Nekroz of Valkyrie, Nekroz of Trishula to stop a targeting effect if your opponent tries to use like Effect Veiler on one of your monsters, you can use the Nekroz of Trish or something like that from your hand. Now, obviously, one of the first things that will just jump out at you is the fact that he ran Kaijus in the main deck. It's pretty much like a 7-card Kaiju engine. It doesn't take up too much of your deck, but it gives this deck a lot of utility, especially in the 2 main matchups you're going to face. Everybody knows right now that, or at least it appears that Monarchs and Cosmos are the front runners right now in this format. They're the 2 most accomplished decks over this small little span that we have with this format, and they're probably the 2 most played decks. And the spaceships are just, God, they're such a problem. You know what I mean? Dart Planet just being able to say F you to a ritual deck, or Dart Destroyer being so hard and difficult to kill that a lot of people pretty much only have like Utopia the Lightning as an easy out to it. But if you play the Kaijus, you've got your easy out. You can simply just, get rid of the spaceship. It doesn't trigger. It doesn't get banished for them to get back from Cosmo Town. So maybe they have a hard time getting it back if they don't have Call of the Haunted or something like that. In addition, these same Kaijus are really good against Monarchs because they turn off the domain lock. If your opponent happens to have something like Majesty's Fiend on the field, okay, just tribute a Kaiju and get it on the field. It's not a tribute summon monster, so their domain is essentially useless, and now you can do all the extra deck plays that you might need to do during that turn. I think Interrupted Slumber is really good in this deck. It kind of serves that same purpose, really good against Monarchs, turning off potential domain locks, just being able to clear boards and then get yourself the bigger Kaiju, get yourself a 3,300 beater. Like, can you imagine if you follow up with a Trishula? Like, that's a ton of damage. He said that he actually did that, and then in your following turn, you could actually end up, searching out another card from Interrupted Slumber. And the thing about Kaijus is they have more synergy in a deck like Nekroz than they do in something like Burning Abyss. I know you guys are like, well, Cap, everybody's playing Kaijus right now, but the difference is a lot of these Kaijus are level 9 and level 8. Well, what else is level 9 and level 8 in this deck? Trishula and the Nekroz of Valkyries, cards that you're going to be dropping on the board like a lot anyway. So you actually have the XC options of going into, number 38 Titanic Galaxy, which We know that this card is strong against pendulums. We know that this card is extremely strong against monarchs. I mean, he didn't play Mask of Restrict, but if you would have had like a Mask of Restrict plus Titanic, it's pretty much GG against monarchs. You know, you're also able to go into Phantom Fortress, which is, this card is essentially another version of Trish. So in this deck, you can actually Trish your opponent, you know, have a Kaiju on the board, the Thunder King Kaiju, the level 9, and then actually after doing, you know, after doing what, 6,000 battle damage, you can actually exceed into this and take another card out of their hand or another card off of their field. Well, chances are they won't have any cards on their field unless it's like, you know, a random field spell or some junk like that that you've pretty much just been ignoring. Now, another interesting thing is I looked at this deck and I was like, well, what if he doesn't play against, you know, what if he doesn't play against Cosmos or Monarchs? His 6-card or 7-card engine of Kaijus probably won't be that good. But what he said that he did was he said that he sided in the Brilliant engine. And I was like, okay, that's actually kind of smart, because what this allows Nekroz to do, and you really haven't seen Nekroz play Brilliant Fusion ever since, you know, Damage Juggler got banned essentially. But what this allows him to do is, you know, side in a copy of Denko, which is already strong in a deck like Nekroz because you don't main deck any traps. But it allows you to bring out Seraphonites. So if you happen to open with, you know, multiple Manjus or Senjus, bam, you can just kind of unload your hand. You can get all of those cards out of your hand. You get the multiple normal summons, more damage on board, opens up plays with instant fusion. So it's actually pretty good because, you know, maybe you do a normal summon, do another normal summon, get your resources from Manju and Senju, you exceed with those two into, you know, who knows, like Casto or something, then you play instant fusion, Norden, get the cards back, go into another exceed. There's options for a lot of damage. And he also sided in, you know, a couple of exceed universes and Constellar, what the hell am I talking about? A Stellar Knight Diamond, which we know is just pretty much, if you exceed universe into Diamond against Burning Abyss, like, it's pretty much just GG at that point. They're not getting any dark effects that game. They're just not going to be able to use Dante's effect because anything they add will get banished. And another thing coming out of his side deck that I was like, whoa there, this is like pretty damn cool, is Drowning Mirror Force. Now, I've played against my good share of Nekroz in the past, and I know you pretty much never side in Spell and Trap Destruction against Nekroz. A lot of people side it out completely. When I used to play Teller Knights against Nekroz, I would actually leave my MSTs in for fear of Royal Decree just basically shitting on my entire deck. But, you know, if you side these in, your opponent can never really put you on anything. Like, I mean, yeah, the first time you activate this, they may know, oh, well, he's siding in Drowning Mirror Forces, but generally this card can be so much of a blowout, your opponent might not be able to recover. I mean, if I was playing against Nekroz and my opponent had one random face down, I'd just be like, oh, that's a bluff. That's probably, you know, a Nekroz Psycho or a Nekroz, you know, Kaleidoscope that's dead or something. Like, I would have no fear of attacking into one back row with like 4 or 5 monsters trying to kill a Nekroz player, you know, because if they have a defensive card, I mean, it's probably something like Valkyrie, and you can't really counter that anyways. But if they flip over a Drowning Mirror Force and just blow you out, like, you're going to feel pretty bad, and you're still not really going to side in MSTs anyway. You're not going to side in Twin Twisters because it's just not practical against a deck that's only going to side in maybe 3 traps. In addition, from what I've seen, a lot of these Fire King Cosmo builds, they're kind of taking, they're not running 3 Slip Riders anymore. Like, a lot of them are running 2 or even 1 Slip Rider, and Slip Rider's not good against Nekroz anyway, so they may completely side out Slip Rider, which means you just open them up with a card like Drowning Mirror Force. It's really difficult to account for traps in a ritual deck. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, but this deck is quite impressive. I'm definitely going to be playing this on stream. Let me know what you guys think. I think in the temporary, I think this is going to be like, I think this is a really good mold for Nekroz until either, I guess, the format drastically shifts where Monarchs and Cosmos aren't the best decks, or, you know, Konami decides to give Nekroz some of their cards back. Like, dude, Kaiju's in the main deck might be the way to go because, again, not only is it inherently good against Cosmos and Monarchs, but a lot of times you can exceed using these same Kaijus after you've used them as beat sticks, or you can just, you know, tribute them away for Valkyrie if you don't want to exceed. The options are there. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you for watching as always.